Hello, everybody. I'm Rado, and welcome to Rado's Tips. This is the companion video of my post about the evolution of Angry Building export module. In these videos, I'm going to deep dive a bit more extra stuff on top of the post that's already here. And this is just an experiment, so I want to see how this is going. So the blog post is around Angry Building, the company which I'm the co-founder of. And Angry Building provides a system for facility managers, and we are doing a lot with files. We are dealing with a lot of financials. We are doing a lot with file management, with a lot of sharing data, and one of the modules is the export ones. The module that exports data, and we need to export data into Excel, into PDFs, into CSVs, into zips. So my post, the evolution of a model system goes through this whole process that hopefully most probably read so far. If not, it's in the description down below because this is also going to be posted to YouTube. And this is my first video, so every blunder is on me. So I wanted to go into a bit more details about how we think about that subject. So when I started this feature, it started with those service objects that were just random objects that were failing through my system. They were like general invoice, generator, export, download, notes, file, zip, call. They had great names because they were very easy to grab around my system and to search them. But they started to grow and I get to a bit more. And this was a very interesting thing which I noticed where it was like, okay, I have those things which I don't know where to put them. Like every time I build a system and I don't know where to put stuff, I feel a bit anxious and I try to put them into some drawers. And especially if it's code that's not related to anything, like if it's like the service object, transactional scripts, it's stuff that's easy to move if it's named in a way that you can basically do find and replace in your code base for like 5 minutes. So it's not such a big deal. So I try to have, if something is one-off, like export debtors for legal to Excel, this big long name, I can find it, replace it, and put it somewhere else. So the next step I did was I did a namespace. And I tried to put each of the service objects that generated the files into the namespace that they use for the domain they were part of. Like, for example, generate PDF for invoicing, got invoicing for generate PDF. Export invoices, get to invoicing export. Uh, Export debtors, go to my taxation module and download building nodes files, yada yada yada. Goes to building downloads node zip, which is still a long name. So this was my first step, but when I started working, it was I started kind of losing track of where my exporters were, like how many exporters I have in my system. And especially with things like that, you have those state where it's like you have your domain and you have something that's related to your domain. So I realized that I needed to extract a new domain in my system, which is the core, the export domain. And export domain, it's useless domain on its own. It's a support domain. It's something where it serves other purposes. So support domains in domain-driven designs are domains that basically on their own they have no meaning because they use stuff from other domains. At least that's my interpretation of it. But as everything in domain-driven design, the most important thing is what your interpretation is. So this gets me into a nice place. I had export invoice to PDF, invoices to plus minus, which is like an accounting system, export debtors to Lego, notes to zip, and yeah, basically I have those. Then when I group all those things together, I had a situation where I noticed that I can actually extract some helpers in all the PDF helpers, in all the CSV helpers, in all the Excel helpers. And I usually call this the bag of utilities. It's like a bag of methods, basically single In Rubyland, we call them methods. In JavaScript, you call them functions, where you get an input, you get an output. And I was wondering where to put those. So I put those in export PDF, export CSV, export Excel, export zip. And then I noticed why, okay, my exporters already include those names in their names. So actually, I'm going to group the exports by the type. So I'll have export PDF invoice, export CSV plus minus, export Excel debtors, export zip notes, and so on and so forth. And this was very useful. So this is the state I'm currently at, and I'm very happy with this. But when I had the objects together, I kind of felt that there was something else to extract, because I noticed that every type of object returns like a different binary or string or whatever representation to the file, and all of those were returning files. So I extracted this value object, which was the file, like export file. Like it's very similar, like the export, it returns a file. Very simple, very nice, very good. So each of the namespaces is actually using a helper method, a factory, that returns the things that is going to be exported. And this allows me to build this application controller, download file. And while I was writing the blog, the post, I figure out I actually can monkey patch it, do some nice things with active storage to accept this value file, because honestly, I had like 2 or 3 places where the export file get to active record and I just had like a function which didn't look that pretty. It was getting the job done, but I can actually optimize, and that's one of the reasons I actually like explaining those stuff and writing the posts. So this was kind of the whole system. It started from a service object, it goes to a couple of namespace iterations till it gets the value object. In the post, I get into a lot more details and code samples. And this kind of gets into something where I'm thinking about the modern way we're building Rails application in particular, because usually the backend I do is in Rails. I usually have a namespace which groups some domain logic into like something like a service object, which returns either a value object or an active record object or active record objects. And then this go back to Rails into the views, the mailers, or whatever. So this is the stuff that usually when I make a Rails, modern Rails application, I have this flow. And sometimes, yeah, we have the service object, but this is the stuff I want to put in the some of the future posts I'm going to do about different types of objects, like the search object, the form object. Sometimes the value object is just something which it's called a result object, which is like error or a valid result. So this is stuff I'm definitely going to do a bit more in the future in my posts. The other thing is I'll most probably do a feature post about export async. This is a feature I'm planning. It's on my roadmap. We'll see if I get there, but it will be a very interesting to see if my structure so far would be very applicable to adding, okay, let's do all the processing in a background job and then enter to the user. Let's see how much of this setup is going to be changed. And again, all of those things I'm trying to explain here are kind of like bricks, like they're small things you can use in order to build your application. So yeah, thanks for watching. And if you have any comments, feedback, you can just share it with me. I'm always glad to discuss stuff like that. Thank you.